Good morning, it's Anissa here at the Pangaea Hotel here in Whistler. So we were here last week as well, podcasting and working on the 21 Laws of Leadership. I had Kathy and Sally here, and Lee is actually going to pop in. I just heard she's in Whistler. So we wanted to do this recording anyway this morning, even though I didn't take time to invite anybody because it's been a really long week and summer still doesn't feel like it's over. If you haven't had a chance to see our other podcasts on the 21 Laws of Leadership and some of our other business training, you can go into the Entrepreneur Collective. You'll find the link in our meetup, or you can just search the Entrepreneur Collective under a Mighty Network, and you'll find, put the two together, and you'll find us pretty easy. We'll have our domain up soon. We do have the entrepreneurcollective.com. If you are in Vancouver, you can come out and see us live, because one of the events that I produce through the communication studio is the ladies meeting, and we have 30 to 50 women show up for lunch on the last Tuesday of every month. So we would love to see you out there. If you're a female entrepreneur looking to make sure you've got an income of over 5,000 or more, come in and check out some of our other members, some of our training we have available. We always have an amazing speaker as well. My name is Anissa Jane. You can find me online on Instagram. We have the ladies meeting also has Instagram as well, and super easy to find. Check out our links. If you're ever coming up to Whistler, you can check out my links on Instagram. There's lots of stuff there as well. So as a business coach, I am starting a fresh set of the 21 Laws of Leadership because I haven't actually recorded it since I lived in Abbotsford, which was about 5 or 6 years ago, and now I live up here in Whistler, so I thought it'd be great to do a fresh twist on it. And sometimes I have guests pop in because 21 recordings is actually quite a good chunk of time to do. And having to do it on getting to do it on the Coffee House Network has made it a lot more fun too. So it's great to have people chime in, have discussions. So you can go back onto the YouTube page, but also we'll get those recordings up in the Entrepreneur Collective as well. It's an app you can either put on your phone or you can just use it on your laptop or your home computer as well. It's super fun to use it as an app on the phone because it just sends you little pings. We have book club, we have private groups as well, and a lot of different courses on there as well. Starting to record master classes that will be available too, which is really exciting. So if you want to teach a master class and you're a member already, please let me know, or if you want to propose something, that would be fun too. So today we're going to actually do Law 4, the Law of Navigation. And this is applied to from the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. Business coaches are not actually allowed to charge for this, so I thought it would be great to record it so that you can download the worksheets. I'm also going to upload the keys as well. So you can download the worksheet. There'll be a place to purchase the book online as well if you're interested, or go to the library and get it. It's very available. Look at secondhand bookstores as well. It's one of the most popular business leadership books available on the market. If you haven't heard of John Maxwell, he's been voted one of the #1 speakers on leadership internationally. Very, very, very well known in the leadership world. So a leader sees more, sees farther, and sees before others. The law of navigation. So it talks about how anyone can steer a ship, as he says, but it takes a leader to chart a course. So sometimes the leaders may not even know how you're going to achieve your goal, but often they know that it's possible. I think often it's kind of one of the best ways I can describe the different personalities is, I think there's a type A and a type, when you go to the letter types, for me personally, if you just tell me what direction the airport is in, I know that there's going to be enough signs there that I'm going to be able to find my way. If you just say, you know what, it's that way, it's 1 hour that way, it's in, give me some landmarks, give me a little bit of detail. I know I can get on my phone and I can find it. There's different personalities that are going to need you to tell you exactly how many minutes it's going to get there. They want to know exactly left, right, all the little tiny details. Because they can't necessarily make that leap as to where they're going to get to, and they don't want to fill the gaps in themselves. So I'm going to play a little video actually that is a great description from John Maxwell as well himself. Let me share my screen. First of all, let me put that here so that when I go share my screen, I'm not seeing all my other stuff. Share screen. Share this one. This is a great short little story.
Look at me, something I read the other day that I just love. And I want to pass it on to you. So just kind of sit and relax for a moment. Let me just read you this I think, humorous story. A man in a hot air balloon realized that he was lost. He reduced altitude and spotted a woman below. He descended a bit more and he shouted, "Excuse me, can you help me? I promised a friend that I would meet him an hour ago, but I don't know where I am." The woman below replied, "You're in a hot air balloon, hovering approximately 30 feet above the ground. You're between 40 and 41 degrees north latitude and between 59 and 60 degrees west longitude." "You must be an engineer," said the balloonist. "I am," replied the woman. "How did you know?" "Well," answered the balloonist, "everything you told me is technically correct, but I have no idea what to make of your information. And the fact is, I'm still lost. Frankly, you've not been much help at all. If anything, you've delayed my trip." The woman below responded, "You must be in management." You can see the train coming, can't you? "Since you must be in management." "I am," replied the balloonist. "But how did you know?" "Well," said the woman, "you don't know where you are or where you're going. You have risen to where you are due to a large quantity of hot air. You made a promise which you have no idea how to keep, and you expect people beneath you to solve your problems. And the fact is, you are in exactly the same position you were in before we met, but now somehow it's my fault."
I hope you enjoyed that little bit. I think it really does explain some of the challenges of people in leadership not necessarily explaining where people are going and telling people who, what, where, and why they're navigating to where they're going to get. And it's a really important part of leadership. So there's a couple pieces in the sheet if you're interested in downloading it. In the laws of navigation. So basically it requires preparation. A leader is one who sees more than others see, and who sees farther than others see, and who sees before they do. Leroy Elms. But that can be really annoying to other people sometimes. So when you do have that vision, learning to translate it well, because you're not a leader if you don't have anyone following you. No one's going to pick up your breadcrumbs that you're leaving behind. If no one's going to help you pull the load and get you where you want to go, well, then there's no point being a leader. Hey, Lee, come on in. They'll actually serve you coffee. You can sit down here. It's really strange. You're welcome to pop in on the video if you want. Or, yeah, sure. Just talking about John Maxwell's Law of Navigation. And we just played a fun little video. You look fabulous today. Actually, we'll expand this here. It'll show you anyway. So welcome to the coffee house. Thank you. The law of navigation is about, even when you're a leader and you have that vision, is also making sure that the people that you're leading have an idea where you're going, because if you haven't prepared them for the journey, then they may not want to come along, and if you have no one to follow you, you're not a leader, basically. So creating that vision and sharing it is sometimes really key. Obviously, you're not always going to be sharing all of it, but you need to take a look at it. So navigation also requires reflection of the past often. So knowing what went wrong, what went right, and making sure that you're going in the right direction is a really key part of that. So there's a little acronym. What's the word when you're using letters for acronym? Okay, got that right? for leading and influencing that really help you prepare you for the journey of leadership. So sometimes it takes a long time to put all these pieces together so that you build a good team to lead. So here's some pieces that you can put together. So the acronym is plan ahead. Predetermine your course of action. Basically look organized. Sometimes you're pulling the pieces in, you may not know exactly where you're going, but you know the vision at least of where you're going to get to. So predetermine that so that you can then go to L, which is lay out your goals. It doesn't mean that you're not going to A, adjust your priorities. So sometimes I've done some multi-million-dollar building projects where all of a sudden one engineer needs to be prioritized over another. We've had floods, so the municipalities have all of a sudden gone into emergency mode and had us having to rebuild certain things, so giving certain engineers different priorities. So you might have to adjust your priorities as you go along. And that goes again down to notifying key personnel, because if they don't know what's going on, they might just jump ship. So I had an experience in the last couple of days where someone is quite worried about something, but they haven't really expressed what they're worried about or what's going on. We've kind of figured it out, but it's been pretty hard because they're the person in leadership to try and keep up with why they are very anxious right now. But notifying just a couple people in the organization that they are a little bit stressed out might have been really helpful to make the last few days go a little bit more smoothly. So A, allow time for acceptance. So if you're going to have a plan, we all have different kinds of personalities where sometimes, if you've ever read the Wonder of Boys, they say with men you need to let them know in the morning and repeat yourself 3 times as to when you need to change direction or talk about something. But that's just a parameter. But I think a lot of us, if we know we're going to be changing direction, we want to have a little bit of notice. Some of us can just hop along, especially in the conference industry. I showed up to volunteer for a very large golf tournament a couple months ago, and you just behind it's like, oh my God, someone didn't show up. Can you just hop into this role? And it's like, hell yes, this is going to be fun. Let's do it. Let's go. But not everybody can do that. Other people might need to have a plan. So, for example, here's what I need you to do. Like I was talking about the beginning, the person who needs a very set of directions. Sorry, I wasn't use double words there, as to where you need to get. So for example, I had 300 people to set up for a meal. I was handed a bunch of burlap, some flowers, 300 plants, and said, can you make it look pretty? Not a problem. The other lady I was with needed a firm, we set her up doing the stage, but she had a very firm set of directions. She had a little map as to where everything needed to go. So very different personalities. We both achieved designing a beautiful space, but we did it in very different ways. Head into action. So that's the other thing I find. For example, I have one of my clients who's been planning her website literally since February. And it's like, you know what? Just get it done. You can, some things you have to get them done and start, or you never get into action. One of the greatest management stories I've ever heard was this guy who was about to be handed the keys to the company. The owner was going to retire, and he said, you know, sir, I've been wanting to ask you this question. You always make such amazing decisions, and everything seems to work out. And he's like, how do you do it? Like, some of them have been really key to the company and their success. He said, I'll tell you a little secret. The owner says he's about to pass this on to the younger guy. He says, I keep a set of stones in my pocket, and they're different colors. And sometimes when I have to make a really hard decision that I know things could go either way, no matter how I choose, sometimes there's no good decision, doesn't matter which way I go. It's kind of like, I just pull out a set of rocks, and if it's blue, I go left, and if it's right, if it's black, I go right, and it works out. And they say that sometimes generals in the army, when they have to make those kind of decisions too, they know there isn't always a good decision, but they have to make a decision. So moving forward and moving into action can be really key as a leader. Because if you're really indecisive and never make a decision, it's really hard for people to do their job and to know what they're supposed to do, because that trickles down into the organization. The other part is expect problems, and when you're making decisions, you might run into walls, so you've got to be able to navigate through those. Know who your problem solvers are in your team, and understand that there will be a solution. A lot of times we know we want to get somewhere, but we don't know what the bumps in the roads are going to be. Go back to that, the flooding situation that I was talking about. His mission, it was like Mission City, just outside of Abbotsford. The river was going to flood, so they had us redesign all of our foundations to go deeper. And, you know, there never ended up being a flood, but we went into emergency mode, and we had to have engineers. We knew who to go to, what to do. We had to leave our preload on longer. There was all these pieces of this puzzle. And we expected some problems, but we really weren't expecting that many problems. Always point to successes. So when you have, usually when you're building something, if you have an idea of what you want to do, then you generally have a sample of success, or at least someone or some other organization that has successfully done something similar to you. It doesn't have to be exact. It just needs to be something similar, so that you can point that to your organization and your people. And daily review your plan. So always be updating. Don't leave things for too long. Always be looking at how you can be working towards your success. So navigation requires careful reflection of the past. I'm not going to reflect on that too much today because we're already at almost 20 minutes. And I would encourage you to read through this chapter in the 20 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership and go through the worksheets. So things to listen for is my people will do anything I say, but I have to tell them, listen, people, that might be a problem. Another thing to listen for that you might need to go back and build some of your leadership skills is I'm not even sure what I need to do next. Or I'm in over my head, or we keep hitting the same wall. So this might be a key notation that you need to go back to law number 1, law of the lid, and just build more leadership skills, build your team, and work together. So I'm going to say goodbye from the Coffee House Network. If you want to see us at the ladies' meeting, the communication studio produces the ladies' meeting in Vancouver on the last Tuesday of every month, except for December, because that would be crazy. And you can go to ladiesmeeting.com and click on live events for our, whatever the next event is. In December, we also do a swap soiree instead of a luncheon earlier in the month so that we can support other women in business, and we donate a lot of clothes and have a lot of fun and empty our closets and share. And it's just a really good time. I believe it's going to be the 8th of December, but you can go onto our live events page. We'll have that posted soon. You can also join us on the Entrepreneur Collective, which is our online platform where all of these sheets and the 21 Laws of Leadership will eventually all be re-recorded and entered there. But you can start on Law 1, and it's all totally free. So Anissa Jane from Whistler and the Pangea Pod Hotel. Have a great week. Take care.